There is a very good chance that you have heard of a service called BetterHelp. It's been promoted by big YouTube names like Philly D and Boogie2988. BetterHelp's ads are all over Reddit, they're all over YouTube. There are tons of testimonials from people saying how much therapists have helped them, and I'm going to assume they're telling the truth. So, how could BetterHelp be bad? Simple. The therapy itself has nothing to do with BetterHelp. And it is extremely important when assessing the quality of BetterHelp to understand that. From their terms and conditions, they say, the counselors are neither our employees, nor agents, nor representatives. Furthermore, we assume no responsibility for any act, omission, or doing of any counselor. So, yeah, they've covered their ass. They've made it so that if anything bad happens somehow, they're not responsible. But on the flip side, they can't take credit for anything good happening through the therapy. Like they said, it doesn't represent them. They take no responsibility for any of it. And like I said, this needs to be crystal clear. People saying, BetterHelp's great, my therapist really helped me. Well, that doesn't mean BetterHelp's great. That means that's a good therapist. You don't have to go through BetterHelp to see them. Unless they only work through BetterHelp, in which case I'd find it kinda suspicious that a qualified professional only works through a budget online service. So anyway, if BetterHelp isn't the therapy itself, what is BetterHelp and what should you judge it on? As per their terms and conditions, they are nothing more than a service that puts you in touch with a therapist. That is it. And as such, the only meaningful judgment of BetterHelp is assessment of the conditions under which this is done. And, ladies and gentlemen, these conditions suck. And I would say some of what they do at least borders on making them a scam. Let me explain. You see, you don't need a service like BetterHelp to match you with a counselor. You can, on your own, go and search for a therapist who offers phone or internet sessions. So why would you use BetterHelp? They actually offer a really good sounding service. Maybe you're not confident enough in knowing what you need to find a therapist yourself. That's no problem with BetterHelp. In their How Do I Get Started section on their website, they say you will fill out a questionnaire to help them assess your needs and get matched to a BetterHelp counselor. Okay, cool. So you can't credit them with the therapy itself because they take no responsibility. But here's something they actually do. They take information from you and use that to match you to an appropriate therapist. Genuinely sounds good. That's really useful. But let's just take another little look at their terms and conditions, just before we give them a round of applause. We make no representation or warranty whatsoever as to the willingness or ability of a counselor to give advice. We make no representation or warranty whatsoever as to whether you will find the counselor services relevant, useful, correct, relevant, again, satisfactory, or suitable to your needs. We do not control the quality of the counselor services, and we do not determine whether any counselor is qualified to provide any specific service, as well as whether a counselor is categorized correctly or matched correctly to you. You agree, confirm, and acknowledge that although the counselor may provide the counselor services through the platform, we cannot assess whether the use of the counselor services, or the platform is right and suitable for your needs. Sorry, excuse me. What? That's the point of you. That's what you said your service does. That's what you're offering. You say you're going to assess our needs and thereby match us to a counselor, but in order to get that service, we have to agree that you can't do that. You're going to make people give you personal information about themselves, telling them that you use that to match them to an appropriate counselor, but also say you take no responsibility for matching them to an appropriate counselor. What's that word? What do you call it when you offer someone something in return for money, but then in the small print it turns out you're not really offering that, and you don't actually take responsibility, and you can't actually promise that? Oh yeah! A scam. So, okay, do they at least do the grunt work and guarantee for you that these people are qualified? Do they take responsibility for that? Because if they don't, what's the point? Just look people up on your own. Well, while we may try to do so from time to time in our sole discretion, you acknowledge that we do not represent to verify and do not guarantee the verification of the skills, degrees, qualifications, licensure, certification, credentials, or background of any counselor. It is your your responsibility to conduct independent verification regarding any counselor that provides you with counselor services, whether through the platform or not. And we strongly recommend that you will conduct this verification prior to communicating with any counselor through the platform and on a continuous basis as you use the platform. So, they're gonna assess me and match me with someone, but provide no guarantee or take any responsibility for it being a good match. But not only that, they're going to match me with someone with no guarantee that who they're matching me with is qualified and say it's up to me to figure that out. BetterHelp. Why do you exist? What do you do? What do you take responsibility for providing? Because right now, it looks like it's a whole lot of nothing. Moving on from that, there is another element of this service that I find incredibly sketchy. When they're trying to sell themselves to you, they compare themselves to traditional face-to-face therapy. And they try to tell you how much better they are. They try to show you how much better it is to go through them instead of going to a therapist directly or using another service that will have face-to-face therapy. When you go to sign up, they tell you, with BetterHelp, you can have professional counseling for only $65 a week. Unlike traditional in-office therapy, which can cost $150 to $250 for a single session, with BetterHelp, there is no limit to the number of sessions, so you can communicate with your counselor as much as you want and whenever you need. Wow, look! Less than half the price of in-office counseling! Look how much money you save by using this instead of traditional therapy. I should just use this instead of normal therapy, right? No. Says BetterHelp. From their terms and conditions, you agree, confirm, and acknowledge that you are aware of the fact that the counselor services are not a complete substitute for a face-to-face examination and/or session by a licensed, qualified professional. Which means if you agree to their terms and conditions, they're not actually saving you any money because they're telling you you have to go to traditional therapy as well still. You should never rely on or make health or well-being decisions which are primarily based on information provided as part of the counselor services. Furthermore, we strongly recommend that you will consider seeking advice by having an in-person appointment with a licensed and qualified professional. Never disregard, avoid, or delay in obtaining medical advice from your doctor or other qualified healthcare counselor by face-to-face appointment because of information or advice you received through the platform. What? Did you listen to that? Don't use the advice to make any changes in your life. This is absurd. Imagine going to a therapist and them telling you, oh yeah, by the way, you need to make sure not to base any life changes on anything I say to you. You have to agree to that, to use my services, okay? Don't make any decisions at all to affect your well-being based on what I've told you, alright? Oh yeah, and if you want real help, you really need to, and I'd encourage you to go to another therapist to get real help. Because you see, really, I'm the budget option with no promises, but it's only $35 a week. If you pay $2,000 up front. Look, folks, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. While it seems like all the therapists are legit, the service itself that puts you in touch with them hamstrings them and what you can do with them. And the service itself admits that they are not a cheaper alternative to traditional therapy. They're something else entirely. They're a supplement. They say so in their own terms and conditions. So anyone who's been given the impression that this is a budget substitute for other therapy has been misled. According to BetterHelp. And the way they've presented themselves and explained themselves, I'd say this is quite the opposite. This is not a way to save money. This is something extra to spend on top as a luxury, in addition to normal therapy that doesn't have the limitations this has. And to be frank, to be just completely honest and straight up and raw, I don't trust them when a service promises something on its front page and then the terms and conditions contradict that. For me, that's it. Trust is gone. And that's not even mentioning that apparently, as long as they don't share any personally identifying information, they can do whatever the hell they want with any data they can suck out of me. So yeah, BetterHelp, no offense, but I'd rather stay depressed than sign up with you guys. But, as usual, that's just another one of my harmful opinions.